Welcome back to that Eurovision site, Eurovision with a Slice of Life. I am Daniel. I am joined today by Angus. Say hi, Angus.
Hi.
And today we'll be doing the second half to our Armenian Depi Evratesil discussion video. Now, for those who are unaware, Armenia brought back a national final format this year after quite a few years of doing internal selections and in non-participation in 2021. They opted to bring back the Depi Evratesil, which took place in like midway through national final season, and it was won by Parg with Survivor. First of all, Angus, what do you think of how the national final went as a whole?
I will say it is very impressive. We already discussed it back then. This felt like a very last minute national final. Just everything about it felt very last minute. And I do think they put on a good show. I think the production value was higher than we've seen even from way bigger countries with well organized national finals they knew they were going to hold more than a year beforehand. But I mean, in the end, the national final or any song contest will be about the songs, and the songs were. My opinion about them didn't change from the live performances. That being said, I do think everyone got the best opportunity to shine that they could have because I do think it was such a pretty good stage. You can have discussion, but as such, having the green room just like the artist being the main audience, pretty fun, pretty fun.
Yeah.
And there was nothing per se wrong with anything about the show besides, for me personally, the songs
Yeah,
again.
I think the show itself, as you said, was especially by the standards of a sort of kind of cobbled together at the last minute country in the Caucasus, pretty decent, all things considered. The songs, on the other hand, potentially the worst crop of songs I've ever seen in the time I've been following national finals. I don't think that would be an unfair statement because there is not a single one in this lineup that I would even go, hey, this is fine. I would turn most of them off, if I'm being honest. Which is not the same for basically every other national final, and it's not the same for basically every Armenian Eurovision entry. So it feels like to me something, if they are to continue down this path, which in terms of production, why wouldn't they? It's a good enough show that it got like an audience there. People were there, people were excited. There's no reason that it can't get built on. But I think the song quality needs to improve and things need to be addressed, I think.
Yeah, I think with what they had, like, we discussed this before, and if you loved the songs that competed, or you have like a few big favorites from this national final, though I'm not going to go into detail about what songs you disliked and why. It's a matter of personal preference, and I can totally see some of these songs being pretty high in someone's Eurovision rankings. Um, but it did feel as if the Armenian broadcaster was like, well, we aren't fully convinced by any of these, and we want to give each song the best opportunity to convince us, which then needed this kind of show. Um, and yeah, yeah, it wasn't the great. I will say there were some rough vocals on the night. Um, but overall, I was pretty impressed by what everyone brought to the stage. There were some. I know a lot was made of. Sorry, I'm just probably skipping ahead in discussion, but the Arsene featuring Camille, the "Will You Marry Me" with the Grey Rose dancers. But I liked it as a staging concept. I think it could have gotten, if you gave that some extra work, if this had gone to Eurovision, which it obviously didn't, but if it had gone to Eurovision, I do think this is a staging concept you could have done a lot with and done something really cool with, and that I appreciate. There were ideas present here. I just think that everyone could have used some more time to really work them out.
Yeah, like I feel like now it's an established thing. They're gonna attract more and more artists that they like try and look towards getting in because if so, if I was an artist, I would maybe stay away from, oh hey, we are doing this in like 2 months. Got a song ready? I hope you do. Most people probably don't. They've got lives. So in the next 12 or 15 odd months, they can just write a song and get it into a future Depi Evratesil. And there are some really good Armenian songwriters. There are some good Armenian songwriters in this national final. I don't think it's their best work, but they've shown in the past they can do really good things, some of these writers. So give them more time to just get the oven really hot and get all the best food in. We could be really talking here. Because Armenia at their best is really, really good. I think everyone can agree on that, really, apart from Azerbaijan, maybe. But Armenia at their worst is just fine, I guess. And I think that's what we're getting at the minute. I think it's a country with loads of potential. We've seen that in the last few years. Three final appearances in a row. Three for, I think, for different reasons, very, very good results in those finals. So mixed feelings, but honestly feeling hopeful. Moving on now to the winner of Depi Evratesil. It was Parg with Survivor. He won 214 points in total. He won the televote, came second in the juries. What do we think of the winner?
Um, I'm sure you will talk about the 10 songwriters, so I'll just say there are 10 songwriters, and I have questions about that conceptually. But that's the thing with modern pop music. I will say this. I'm I like my pop music, but I'm not a pop guy, and it is a thing, especially in the last most recent years in pop music, that you have astounding amounts of songwriters for shorter and shorter songs. That being said, I do think Parg is a pretty good performer. I'm not sure he's a good fit for this song. I do think he's actually a very strong and charismatic performer who can convey a strong artistic POV if given the opportunity. As such, Survivor itself also has a lot of single elements in it that I actually really like. I think it's less than the sum of its parts, personally. But it give me a 5 second snippet of this song, of pretty much any 5 seconds of this song, and I'll be like, oh, this is pretty good. Make it 10 seconds, I like it less. But if, with you, any 5 seconds stick, that can be enough to get your vote. I don't think this song could do better than people might think in Eurovision. I don't think it will qualify. But there is a universe where it does because people that are sort of peripheral to the Euro fandom, like the kind of people that watch Eurovision every year and now start to, oh, I know all the songs are in, let's give them a listen. I've heard them speak positively about this song. So there is that enough to get votes? I don't know. But that is the kind of trajectory you need if you want to get into the final as this kind of song.
Can I just clarify? It is 10 songwriters and then also some more people on production who aren't songwriters, which that's like the entire rest of the national finals worth. But yet none of them could get a a line better than I'm a survivor, a stay aliver. And that is what really, really gets me. Because if you have so many people in the room, come on. Like this is like Melfest 101. Like, it is at least not rhyming like higher with desire with fire. And I think two, three of these songwriters have won the whole thing before. It is There is nothing wrong in a vacuum with getting these songwriters in. I wouldn't really like Armenia to do that kind of thing. I want Armenian songwriters in Armenia, and there's Armenian songwriters on it, to be fair. If you're getting in Thomas G. Sam, Peter Bostrom, Benji Alasu, those guys have standards they need to uphold for themselves, really. Like Benji's just come on from The Code, which is really, really good lyrics, to I'm a survivor, stay alive. Why? You're better than that. You could get like 20 lines better than that, surely. And I do agree Parg is he sold the performance really well. If I were to be pushed for one of these, I think would have done best at the contest. Probably him. Though there were some that would have done very badly indeed. But naming no names, I'm sure you can fill them in yourselves. I still don't think there's a word that qualifies. Or, well, maybe a few, but I do not think it's likely at all because it's just not there enough for me. I think even the revamp, I, I'll be honest, I barely noticed any difference. And there's a question if you have 10 people already on it, or 10 plus people already on it, why does it need one? Surely it should be a finished product. You've got 20 hands working on it.
It just 10 to 20 drafts ago, I think this was a better song. This is a case of too many cooks spoil the broth. Just looking at the semifinal, it is in the tougher semifinal. I'm not saying like what songs are competitive. It's just definitionally in the tougher semifinal because the semifinal was 16 songs instead of 15. That makes it a tougher semifinal. Um, I don't think this is. I will say in this Eurovision, this isn't a song with the most direct competition. On the other hand, it does have the other loud male pop banger of Czechia to contend with. And that, it might fish in a similar pond. It's always difficult to say, but gut instinct, that's the kind of thing where I can see myself looking after the contest like, oh, they clearly were competing for the same set of votes. That being said, I expect very different live shows from the two performances, which then again will open up different avenues of points. But I think it's tough also because there are some very clear. I think the second semifinal has some very clear contenders for who will qualify. And then we have a big block of songs where it's just up in the air, and this is very much part of that in the lower tier of it, but
And then there's
anything can happen.
and then there's a dead certain and Q in there. And it's not them, so good job, Armenia. You're not Georgia.
Yeah. Um, but like I do want Armenia to carry on. I do think we already discussed this in the previous episode, but people go to our website in the off season, in the 2024 off season, we discussed what we would want countries to do as national finals. If they did national finals, we wrote about Armenia. There were some it was Daniel, Ewan, and I. We all had three very different ideas, but I think that like a
Some
synthesis of
very
that would be very good.
questionable.
But as such, I think there are some ideas in there that AMPTV could work with, and in general, I do think just Armenia doing a national final isn't a bad thing because I think it's
Yeah.
good for them to highlight their music scene, like the global Armenian music scene. Because even here, you already had like it's still the global Armenian music scene. They're celebrating their diaspora to a certain degree. I hope they continue doing that. I hope that with more preparation, we'll see better results coming off it. And
Yeah.
I hope that Parg just manages to really keep up the Armenian brand in Eurovision as a strong performer that sometimes has a slip up but always brings something domestically cultural with it while still also having a global sound. I do think as such that Parg is well set to do that.
Yeah, I think either way, I don't think it will be an embarrassing result for Armenia. I think they have set a trajectory in the last few years where it's fine if they take a hit. They're not going to go all doom and gloom and give up because they've got three qualifications in a row, a song with over 1 billion streams, a pretty good domestic songwriter now in Brunette, and Ladaniva, who are just great ambassadors of what an Armenian music scene internationally with diaspora included can be. So they are setting themselves on a really good trajectory. If, like we are predicting, it doesn't qualify, it's just a bump in the road, I think. And I don't see why more people in Armenia or Armenian people elsewhere, as we've already seen quite a few diaspora in this national final, why they wouldn't want to come back and represent Armenia. But unless we have any final comments, thank you very much for watching this discussion. Be sure to check out that Euro site on all social platforms, which we will have conveniently linked in the description down below. Whilst you're down there, check if you're subscribed. If you're not, consider doing so to get more things like this in your subscriptions box. We'll be at the pre-parties in the coming days at this point, and we will also be on the ground at Eurovision itself to bring you just everything you could ever wish for. So thank you, Angus, for joining me, and goodbye.
Bye.
Also, check out the website. I forgot to say that.